Hi everybody, Mike Burkholder, East County Today. I'm here with Sal Sbranti of the Antioch Rotary Club. And what we want to talk about today, and I wanted to bring attention to, was the empowerment project that the Rotary has now done for a couple of years. And Sal, why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm Sal Sbranti. I'm with Antioch Rotary. I worked at USS Pasco for a lot of years and retired about 4 years ago.
And Sal, thank you for coming on and talking about this project. How did it even come up and how did it start?
I was on the golf committee for the Rotary golf tournament that they have every year, and they asked me, since I was one of the team captains, they asked me to come and give a report to their board meeting. So I sat in the board meeting, and while I'm sitting in the board meeting, they're having their discussions before they got to the agenda item on golf, and they said, we have some money for the school district that we haven't used yet. And this was like February or March of that year, and the fiscal year ends in June.
This was 2 years ago?
This is 2015,
Okay.
yes. And so we said, wow, well, what are we gonna do with it, they said. And everyone was talking, everyone had an idea, and I held up my hand, and they said, well, go ahead and tell us, what do you think? And I said, well, my daughter worked on a program called the Empowerment Project. It's a movie about 17 highly successful women, that a five-woman crew went around the United States interviewing these women, and that it was a very powerful program, and it really pushed the empowerment for young women. They liked the idea, they talked about it. Stacy Duckett was the president at the time, and she wanted to get it done during her first term. And so she wrote to the principals of the high school. Both principals, Ken Gardner and Louis Rocha, both immediately responded saying, yes, we want to do this, so work with the following people. And they each gave us a couple of their people. And there was Lindsay Wisely as a vice principal of Antioch High School at that time, and Trina Gallegos. And there was Susan Sabellis and Allison Wahey were at Deer Valley High School. And so they became a team that we worked with, the Rotarians worked with, and put together the program for the Empowerment Project.
And who exactly is it aimed at?
We started by aiming at high school girls, and the first program was at Deer Valley High School, and we put on, in front of 700 girls, we put on the program for an hour and a half for 9th and 12th graders, and then in the afternoon that same day, we put on the 10th and the 11th graders, another 700 girls, and the next day we went to Antioch High School and we put it on for 700 girls there, all 9th through 12th graders. So in those 2 days we put on for 2,100 girls, 9th through 12th grade.
And so for those that don't, haven't seen it or haven't really heard about it, what they do is they watch a video that the girls created. They went and interviewed those professionals, and then you have a panelist.
Yes, we laid out a design. Working, I'm telling you, the people from the schools, the Allison, Susan, Trini, and Lindsay worked with us, and we laid out, I think, an excellent program. They come in, they do a 5-minute introduction. They introduce all the girls. They quiet them down a little bit. They tell the girls what it's about. They thank Antioch Rotary for providing them with the DVD. And then the girls watch the movie. So the movie is a very good movie, and instead of all 17, they have an edited version that's 9 women, and it's 50 minutes long. So they watch the 50-minute version.
Now, what are some of the professions that they
so in the movie, the 50-minute movie with 9 ladies, there's an astronaut, there's an architect, there's the lady who started girls, what's it called, Girls Running, and there's the one that is most impressive is there's a 4-star admiral.
Yeah.
And this 4-star admiral, she's just amazing. There's also, I think I said architect already, there's a math teacher, there's a lady who started a gym. So the 5 women who make the movie, they're very interesting themselves, and then they go around talking to these interesting, highly successful women.
And it's mostly about how they got there, what they went through.
Yes, and what issues face them trying to get into that. Like there's an airline pilot, and there's only like 4%. Now I recently talked to a woman pilot as I was walking out, and she said we're up to 11% now. Where the pilots at the time of the movie, just a few years ago, was only 4% of the pilot population. So they go through all those careers, and they talk to them, and they travel across the United States. And at the end of the movie, what we do, because we don't want these young girls here in Antioch just to think that you have to be an architect in Chicago, or you have to be an astronaut in Houston, or you have to be a 4-star admiral who came from Baltimore. We want them to realize they're highly successful women in our own local district here, in our own local area. And so that's where Rotary is very powerful. We know these people. We know all these very powerful women. We went out, and everyone we've asked, they say yes immediately. If their schedule fits it, these women like to do this. We get them to be panelists so that the girls, after they see the movie, they then get 15 to 20 minutes to ask questions of the panelists. And so the panelists around here, we've had Luan Hall, who's a dentist. We have Christine O'Brien, who's vice president of a bank. Stacy Duckett, who's a chiropractor. Iris Archuleta, an educator.
And what are some of the questions that they ask the panelists, and what's kind of the feedback from the girls?
The questions they ask the panelists many times is, what kind of obstacles did you run into? One interesting question, we had Diane Iguanaga, captain for the Antioch Police Department, and she was at Black Diamond Middle School, because after we got done with the high schools, we went to the middle schools, 8th grade girls. And one of the 8th grade girls said, to any of you 4 panelists, I want to know, if you had daughters, what would you do different? And Diane Aguinaga says, I'll take that one. She got up there and she says, here's what I've done with my daughters. I have 2 daughters. They have women doctors, and they have and women dentists from birth. She goes, I've also had them trained in self-defense so that they learn how to defend themselves. She goes, I've tried to do that right from birth so that they recognize that anything a man can do, they can do.
And so what was the reaction?
So, the girls, at the end of the session, the girls all gathered around her and just asked her a bunch of questions. There was an interesting one that we did at Dallas Ranch Middle School, where at the end of the session with the panelists, and each in a corner, and told the girls that they couldn't leave for another 15 minutes, that they had time to go talk with the panelists. We had Yen Jen Wong, who's a medical doctor, and she's also the chairman of the board of directors for the International Vision Volunteers. And I watched, and to begin with, the girls were around some of these they were around the chiropractor, they were around one of the other ones, and one little girl goes and walks up to Dr. Wong, starts talking to her. Pretty soon, there's 2 or 3 girls talking to Dr. Wong. Next thing I know, there's about 10 to 12 of the girls hanging around Dr. Wong, just talking to her. Not even a week later, just a couple of days later, I get an email from Dr. Wong. I would love to have some of these young people come and intern for me because they're so interested in this field. So a very powerful program.
So it's basically taking, young women that maybe are just curious about a certain career, and it's kind of exposing them to different careers, but also showcasing the obstacles so they're aware of what they would go through.
And also making them aware that women can be successful in non-traditional roles, that they are not limited. The part of the theme of the movie is, what would you do if you weren't afraid to fail? The theme being that many times we limit ourselves. We don't imagine beyond it because we see the role models that people put out there for us, and we don't go beyond those role models. So by here doing this, we're exposing them to new role models. We've put out, we have Lynette Jacobazzi, who's a mechanical engineer from Cal Poly, who's vice president at USS Posco Industries. We have a chemical engineer for Dow Chemical. We have police captain. We had educators. We've had city councilwoman Monica Wilson, Mary Rocha, great role models. And they go up there and they talk to these girls, and they could see now themselves, these are local people. So it's really powerful that way.
How did this whole thing morph down to the middle schools, and what's kind of been the progress of expanding, and how's that all coming about?
Well, a couple of things. Once we did all the high school girls, 9 through 12, and everyone loved the program. Oh, this is great. We got to do it again next year. Everyone was really interested. Well, how do you do it again next year? All the 9 through 12 girls, 12th grade girls saw it. So we started talking, and we said, if we go after the middle schools and do the 8th grades, then they'll be going into the 9th grade, and the 9th through 12th have already had this. So let's do the 8th grade middle schools. So we wrote the middle school principals. Again, they all jumped on it. They liked the idea. They wanted to do it, and they all made it available. Instead of having 5 panelists, because we had 700 students, we usually used 4 panelists. But again, a diverse group, and diverse careers and diverse and similar demographics to the students. So we started in the middle schools. We did that first one. We had done October of 2015. We had done the high school. So May of 2015, we did the middle schools. So the middle schools, we caught those 8th graders that were just going to be going into the high school. Then October of 2016, we did the middle schools again. They loved it. As a matter of fact, they keep changing it and making it grow. As an example, we did Park Middle School in May of 2015. John Gimno, when we started talking about the October program, John Gimno from Park Middle School says, I got an idea. What I'd like to do is combine us with Antioch Middle School, and we could do it at BD Auditorium instead of having to do it in my cafeteria at Park. We could do it in BD Auditorium, and we could all be there, the 2 middle schools together. We set that up. It was fantastic. Also, in our Rotary Club, we have a number of people that are friends with Tom Torlakson, Gordon Gravel to be precise in this thing. He talked to Tom Torlakson. He was telling him, Tom, here's what we're doing in our Rotary Club with the schools. Tom Torlakson sent his policy advisor, Brianna Mullins, to the program. She came and witnessed the program. That night, she put on her own Facebook page how great the program was. And later, within the next few months, we got a letter from Tom Torlakson really saying what a great program you got, and he hopes that Rotary can expand it throughout its district.
Yep.
So that's what we've been working on, is expanding the program throughout the district.
And so where are you currently working with? What other districts to expand?
So the Pittsburgh Rotary has got a date, August 29th. They're going to do Pittsburgh High School.
Okay.
The Brentwood Rotary is working with their school. They committed to it. Eric Volta is the superintendent of Liberty High School District, and they're going to do it there, and I believe it's in September time frame. They're working on it. I've been asked to help work with their committee to put that together. So that's moving forward. Brianna Mullen, she's working on a program at UC Davis, and on July 28th, next week, they're going to be putting on a program for 7th grade girls, and they're going to be using the Empowerment Project, and I've been working with her. Los Madonnas College, Tara Sanders, and worked with the Pittsburgh Chamber of Commerce, and they put together a program for the Los Madonnas College students, and we had about 150 people attend that. Had a great panel. We had Merle Kraft, who's the mayor of Pittsburgh. We had the superintendent of schools. We had Susie Casada, who's the CEO of Romar Foods. And we had Dory Stevens, who's the CEO of Southern Delta. So they had a great panel. So this thing is growing bigger, and they just do, it's a terrific program for our young women to see that there are role models for them, that they're not the barriers they used to be.
Yeah, and one of the nice things that's coming out of this program is it's actually morphing into a kind of another program for young dudes. And I know you're still in the planning process for that, but what could people expect with that?
Well, we're trying to work with the school district to, Ken Gardner has named a person to put on the team, and Louis Rocha has named a person to put on the team, and we're trying to develop a program for the young men. And I told you how the program keeps growing on the young women's side. The 8th grade girls this year, on October 11th, all 4 middle schools are going to be at the Contra Costa County Fairgrounds.
Oh, nice.
And instead of it being a 90-minute program, it's a 5-hour day. So take away transportation of the bus getting there and the bus leaving, it's going to be about a 4.5-hour program. It'll include the movies. It'll include a number of other activities that Lindsay Wisely and Trini Gallegos, and they have another 2 people that are working on the activities for the young ladies that day besides the movie, and we're going to see how that works out. That should be a very powerful program.
I wanted to ask you about Trini because I know she's all about this program. How's her energy been? That's got to be contagious.
Oh gosh, yeah. No. Trini's great, and I'm telling you, working with the school district people has been fun. They're very competent and capable, and when we say, well, we need someone to put this together, we can handle that. Well, we need some way to, how do we get into the schools? Okay, we'll send you something on that. They just take care of business, and they go about doing it and getting things done, and that makes our life easy. I set up meetings, and I buy them dinner and drinks and have them talk.
Because you're a Rotarian, and I know you got into the Rotary to help people, but what's been the most rewarding thing for you in this program?
The Empowerment
The
Project?
Empowerment Project.
Well, I enjoy working with the groups of people that I'm working with. And then when you watch the young ladies after, they're just terrific. Who was it? Like Malanka talks about, a year after the program, we handed out a rubber wristlet that says, what would you do if you weren't afraid to fail? Mm-hmm. And a year after the program, Malanka sees one of these girls with this wristlet on, and she asked her about it. She says, oh no, that was the most powerful program. She goes, I'm going to go to college. I never thought about going to college before I saw this. So those kinds of things just really makes you feel good.
Is there anything you want to just share with the community on the project and how they can get involved and what they can do to help?
Well, the fact is that we have to accept. We should not only accept the fact that women have every right to the same jobs and opportunity as men. We have to make that available to them. That young women have just as much capability as young men, and they should be allowed to utilize that.
And so, in closing, I just want to say thank you for talking about the program and what you've actually been doing with Rotary. That's a lot of good projects that are outside of some of the bigger events that are going unnoticed. He brought me into Rotary, so
got a good member here that I think is going to help us a lot.
You got out of the 5 or 6 invites, he's the only guy that got me to come, and so we're Antioch Rotary does a lot of good things. I'm just going to give them a plug. It's just been the best thing that I've ever been a part of. So I thank you for bringing me in.
All right. And thank you for joining and helping us out.
We're going to keep doing good. We're going to keep doing good work in the community.